You know, the Big Bang is often presented as though it's a done deal, that it's well understood, that the evidence all points inexorably to this whole picture of the past and vast millions of years and so on. The Big Bang is supposedly based on the idea that when we observe the universe around us, we see that the galaxies and stars are all receding from us. Now, if you were to wind that backwards, it looks like it would all condense down into one place, and people can figure out that it would have, you know, 14 or 15 billion years ago, it all exploded, and now what we're seeing is the aftermath. But it turns out that, in fact, the Big Bang fails to explain the observations in a number of very fundamental ways.
We are told today we live in a universe that's made up of 96% of stuff we know nothing about. We're told that 4%, the other 4%, which we do know about, it's the stuff like normal matter, the chairs we're sitting on, the room, the earth, the solar system, everything we can see is normal matter. The rest is this dark matter and dark energy. Stephen Chu, the energy minister, Obama's energy minister, speaking at an Australian Institute of Physics conference to high school students, says, quote almost, "We know nearly everything we need to know about the universe except for a few small details. What is dark energy and what is dark matter?" It's 96% of the stuff of the universe we know nothing about.
Cosmology is not real science in the sense of regular, repeatable, testable science, because cosmology is about a one-off event, supposedly the Big Bang. It happened one-off in the past, we can't repeat it, we've got no other universe to test it with, we've only got this one universe. So really cosmology falls out of the definition of real science.
The universe, according to Big Bang, had an origin in time. They say it's only 13 billion years old. Therefore, we can only see at most 13 billion light years. This means we only can see a drop in the ocean. You have to make massive assumptions about the rest of the universe. And what if we just happened to be living in a little local bubble and the rest of the universe was totally different?
Many people say that creationists have an issue with light travel. That is, how can we see light from distant stars when the Earth is only 6,000 years old? But the Big Bang, in fact, has its own light travel problem. This has to do with the cosmic microwave background radiation, which is supposedly the afterglow of the Big Bang, and which has been observed to have a very uniform temperature no matter where you look in space. And there just hasn't been enough time for the energy to be transferred across space to make all this temperature uniform to the extent that it is. And that's called the horizon problem.
Now, there was an interesting explanation or attempt to find a solution to this, and it's called the inflationary period. So some incredibly short instant after this initial Big Bang, the universe expanded by massive orders of magnitude, and then somehow this period of inflation, as it's called, stopped. So it starts for no particular reason, and it stops for no particular reason. And by the way, during it, gravity has to work in reverse. So rather than matter being attracted to matter, it has to repel it. And so there's this amazing story is told to try and patch up this glaring problem that the Big Bang has.
The inflation proponents have no good physical model for this faster-than-light expansion. It's a fudge factor. But the Bible teaches several times that God stretched out the heavens. The uniformity of background temperature is consistent with the universe being upheld by a single creator outside time and space. Furthermore, it's not just a God did it explanation. Creationist physicists have developed multiple competing models of this expansion using Einsteinian general relativity.
The Big Bang model basically says that high redshift objects are distant, low redshift objects are nearby. Astronomers like Alton Arp and others have found many, many exceptions to this case where they've found high redshift quasars physically associated with low redshift galaxies. And when I say physically associated, I mean we see bridges of stars and gas connecting the two, X-ray emitting gas. It is one very famous case, NGC 7319, where we find a high redshift quasar in front of an active low redshift spiral galaxy, which should not happen in a Big Bang universe. There's something wrong. There's a serious problem that has to be answered.
There are a lot of these anomalies where you have objects with vastly different redshifts that are somehow connected with each other. This should not be possible if redshift was a measure of distance. But clearly they are connected, which means that the standard interpretation of redshift is wrong, and this undermines the Big Bang itself.
If the theory is the incorrect description of what we observe, when we try to apply it to what we observe, we'll have to make up fictitious entities to make the theory fit. Dark matter is invoked to explain peculiar motion in spiral galaxies and in clusters and so on. Dark energy is used to explain this anomalous acceleration of the universe when they use these bright supernova light sources. And inflation is used to smooth out the universe, to make it appear the way we see it today. But these unknowns are not experimentally verified, and in my opinion, never will be.
The Big Bang Theory has a number of secular objectors. In 2004, 33 of these cosmology dissenters wrote an open letter published in New Scientist, and over 100 more cosmologists have added to this letter. And they said, among other things, an open exchange of ideas is lacking, and doubt and dissent are not tolerated. In no other field of physics would this continual recourse to new hypothetical objects be accepted as a way of bridging the gap between theory and observation.
So you might ask this question, why with all the modern technology, supercomputers, we have large telescopes with adaptive optics, we have space telescopes, why haven't we found the observational evidence to firmly establish the Big Bang without invoking all these unknowns? To believe in the Big Bang, you have to take it on faith. There's certain things you have to assume as given, without which you can't even make a calculation. How do you get to the ludicrous situation of 96% of the universe made up of stuff we know nothing about? Cosmology is not experimental science. In fact, I would go so far as to say cosmology is not even science. It's a philosophy, it's a religion, a worldview, it's a belief system. It's not science at all.